This episode is brought to you by Companion. Iris and Josh seem like the perfect match, but when a weekend getaway turns into a nightmare, Iris realizes that things aren't as perfect as they appear. From the creators of Barbarian and the studio that brought you The Notebook comes a twisted tale of modern romance and the sweet satisfaction of revenge. Companion, only in theaters January 31st. Rated R, under 17, not admitted without parent.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
So that does happen, and it still happens. It's not something that doesn't happen. But yeah, I did think, given the very small cast of this film, that especially the early scene where he pulls that guy in the toilet, etc.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know the backstory there, how he met him, whether they know each other, but it is a bit like, oh wow, that's quite fortunate. Yeah. So, he's got a more active sex life than I do. Like.
Hello, film fans. You've reached episode 64 of Flixwatcher.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Flixwatcher podcast. Today we are joined, as always, by Helen.
Hello.
And we have Harry.
Hello.
And John.
Hello.
From Beyond the Box Set, and we're going to be looking at and reviewing God's Own Country.
This episode of Flixwatcher Pod is brought to you by the Tray headphone from Studio. It's a combination of high polished metal and matte surfaces embodying the vision of Scandinavian design. You can get 15% off any order if you use the code flixwatcher.com. Visit their website, studio.com.
Well, I hope you enjoy the show, guys. Remember, please visit us online at flixwatcher.tv. Come to our Twitter account at flixwatcherpod, and please go to iTunes, subscribe and review.
All films featured in the podcast were available to stream on Netflix UK at the time of recording, and please be aware there will be spoilers and some language that may offend. Hello and welcome to Flixwatcher podcast. Today our guests are Harry and John. If you would like to tell our lovely listeners about the podcast that you do together.
Sure. So we are Beyond the Box Set, and on our podcast we take classic standalone movies that have never had a sequel, such as Titanic, Gladiator, etc. And then each week we watch the film and then we come together and compete to come up with the most ridiculous sequel ideas.
Well, we don't compete.
We don't compete necessarily, but we both come up with sequels.
And they're not always ridiculous. Sometimes we go dead serious.
Yeah, and sometimes it's honestly come up with sequels that should be made. Yeah. One day, one of these days, this is going to be our meal ticket. But yeah, every week we will come up with sequel, prequel, or spin-off ideas for films that don't have any. So yeah, maybe like Titanic, a stoner comedy. Or,
that was a deadly serious idea.
Yeah, or Gladiator, the musical. Yeah.
that was deadly serious.
Also deadly serious, yeah.
Hans Zimmer could come back still with a score and get Elton John to write the lyrics.
Yeah.
I'd watch that.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thought experiment sometimes in looking at films that do kind of stand alone, often don't have much scope for a sequel, or maybe didn't make a sequel because they bombed, or just generally don't have the scope there. And it's just an interesting thought experiment to kind of think about, where could we go with this?
Well, I think we're at a kind of an interesting time because now we're getting a lot of films that, it's just been announced that Top Gun 2 is coming out 30 years after the fact. At least 30 years?
Long?
Yeah. So you're kind of thinking, apart from money, why are you guys doing this? And are you guys? Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah. I thought you meant the Top Gun people, but
no, the Top Gun people.
Yeah.
I'm not a massive fan of sequels, if I'm honest.
Are you not?
Not really.
I like a continuation of a story if it seems to, like The Matrix didn't seem to deserve.
That didn't need to happen.
Yeah. But when it's things like the initial Star Wars trilogy, then I'm like, yeah.
Some of those didn't need to happen either.
Sometimes it can be different. Like I like a new story being told that's kind of a sequel. Say the new Jumanji, for example. It's got barely any ties to the original, but a few ties. But it's a really great, fun film.
Yeah.
But then sometimes it could be done awful. Like if you look at the recent Star Wars film Solo.
Not a fan.
No, not a, it's well. I mean, it's all right. It's a good bit of fun, but My God, the
cynical.
backlash.
Yeah.
And, the original film still exists as well. I'm not a big fan of sacred calves. So when you do get people like, oh no, Ghostbusters, you've ruined my childhood. It's like, you can still go watch that original film.
Yeah.
Nothing's been ruined. Sometimes, obviously, if you betray the fundamental characters, sometimes that's a little bit annoying. But, you can still just pretend it doesn't exist at the end of the day.
I think I'm always happy to, if it's characters I enjoyed on screen, I'm always happy to spend more time with them if the story makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
But when things seem contrived, I did enjoy Solo, but I didn't think it needed to be done in any way, shape or form. And I think it's the weakest of the non-prequel films.
Yeah.
Well, let's not get too much into a Star Wars chat because we
we can go there for a while.
Yeah.
So this is like the opposite of Star Wars, probably.
I mean, there's not really many comparisons we could make to.
Did you miss the lightsaber fight halfway through this film?
Oh, I did do, actually.
I mean, this film was marketed as the opposite Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's what it was, yeah. We should say what this film is. God's Own Country.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you chose it, John.
I did choose this film, yes.
Yeah. Can you tell us why you chose it and like a 2-minute synopsis?
Sure. So I chose this film for several reasons. This film was shot in and around West Yorkshire, which is where we are from. We're a proud Yorkshire podcast. We're Leeds based.
Yorkshire is God's own country.
It is, well, hence the title, yeah.
I thought that was Manchester.
No, it's
No.
Yorkshire.
Okay.
It is Yorkshire.
Yorkshire represent.
You know it's Yorkshire. Stop teasing.
So yeah, I thought it'd be good to kind of represent a film that was shot in kind of our local area and is a really nice showcase for what Yorkshire looks like.
Can I just slightly interject here? One of the things that made me laugh funniest in this film is when he wants to get away to Bradford for a night out.
Yeah.
I was about to say the same. It's
Yeah.
like it was his dream. Like his life goal. Like I finally want to get away from his farm and just go to Bradford. Like Bradford, really?
Yeah, funny but also kind of slightly poignant.
Yeah.
But, so that was one reason. And another reason I chose this film is that I've been wanting to talk about this film for a while, actually. So I thought I'd hijack your show to do it.
Gosh, that's what people come here with, an agenda.
Yeah, I do have an agenda for it. Because this film for me is... Did you see a film last year called Call Me By Your Name?
Yes.
So what did you think of it? Briefly, obviously.
I didn't buy into the relationship that much.
Totally, yeah.
Same.
Yeah, I thought that film had a lot of positive qualities. I thought it was quite beautiful in places, but yeah, it had a lot of problems with it. And I really feel like God's Own Country didn't get half the attention. It came out around the same time. Didn't get an iota of the attention. Like no Oscars came for this, but comparatively quite little seen. So I'd like to kind of flag it a little bit because I think this film does a similar-ish story to Call Me By Your Name, but so much better. Just it's better in every way.
Right.
It's got a lot of Brokeback Mountain in it as well.
Yes, it is kind of Brokeback Mountain.
For some
meets
very
Call Me By Your
obvious
Name.
reasons.
Absolutely, yeah. So, so in terms of synopsis, so this film is set in around the Yorkshire area. It stars, I've forgotten both the actors' names.
Josh O'Connor.
It stars Josh O'Connor
And is Alec? Alec? Is
And
that
Alec.
his name?
and Alec, a Romanian actor called Alec. And so Josh O'Connor plays a farmer. He works on a remote kind of cattle farm, and he has, as we mentioned, with the whole dream of going to Bradford, he has a very kind of small. He has a very small existence. His whole life is just working on the farm and then going down to his local pub and getting absolutely plastered. He's gay, which is a kind of very much established immediately in the film. It's not a coming out story particularly. He's gay and he spends he seems to have no serious relationships, but kind of casual anonymous sex quite often. Like there's a scene quite early on where he has sex in a public toilet. I think it is. And he's just kind of quite an unhappy person generally, quite self-destructive. And then his father, who owns the farm, has had a stroke and is kind of quite weak. And it's just him and his father and his grandmother. And so then they hire a Romanian worker to come and work on the farm to help them out during the lambing season. And this is this character, Gheorghe. Is it Giorgio? Gheorghe, yeah.
Gheorghe.
Forgive my terrible Romanian pronunciation. But he comes to work on the farm with him and they kind of strike up a relationship, basically. It's very tender and, tender in places, and very kind of understated. It's not a very melodramatic kind of film. So, and that's kind of all the plot there is. There's not a whole lot of plot to it, but I just find it to be a very lovely little character study with beautifully shot, beautifully acted. And as I say, just in terms of these kinds of films, one thing I really appreciated about this is the fact that when I watched Call Me By Your Name, I was really disappointed by the way it treated the sex scenes. Right. Because it's a film about sex, very much like this is in many ways. It's a film about sexuality. And there are several scenes. The main character played by Timothée Chalamet in that film, who is fantastic, Elio. He is bisexual in that film. He has sex with both men and women throughout the course of the film. And there's 2 scenes in which she has sex with a woman. I think the character's called Marzio. And she basically, those scenes are relatively explicit. Like, it's not, it's not really erotic, but it's, you basically do see him, you see her fully naked, you see them having in proper intercourse, you see him go down on her at one point. And then when he finally has sex with a male character in the film, it just pans away to a tree.
Right.
And I found that for that kind of film, it's not that I need to see like full frontal, nudity in every film about, romance, but because they'd already established that they were going to show eroticism, that they chose to do that made me really, really quite angry. Because
that's an interesting point, actually.
Yeah. So I really appreciate with this film is that it goes there. It's a film about 2 gay men or 2 men who are having a sexual relationship, and it shows it. And it's not that I appreciate that because, that's a bit, I don't, that's a bit titillating. I just found it really refreshing and powerful to actually, because you never see that. So again, that's kind of one of the main reasons I wanted to kind of just recommend this film. If Call Me By Your Name disappointed you a little bit, give this a try because it's on Netflix and it's really nice.
What are your thoughts, Harry?
I really enjoyed this. Yeah. Well, actually, apart from the first maybe 15, 20 minutes, because I watched this a couple of days ago in the morning. I was eating breakfast. And I put this film on.
Not a great time to watch this film.
Weirdly, having spaghetti for breakfast, and my God, there are a lot of very displeasing things on screen, mainly with farm animals and God,
long gloves.
Yeah. I mean, which I'm not that unused to. Like, I'm from Mid Wales, which is a farming area. I'm used to seeing that sort of stuff, but just I wasn't prepared for it. I wasn't expecting any of that in that kind of detail. Yeah,
there are some quite explicit scenes of the realities of farming. So you do see the main character, the Josh O'Connor character, stick his hand up a cow's bum at one point. There's also some quite explicit scenes with the birthing of lambs, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe they really did that. The 2 actors did actually learn. Yeah. They spent time on a farm and really learned how to do all those things. So they're actually really happening, which I think is really interesting.
I think it's fantastic. Those I used to love All Creatures Great and Small as a kid growing up, and I think it was great that they did that, and it looked. I'm glad you said that they actually learned how to do that because it just did look real. Yeah. And there's one scene where
I didn't know. I looked away.
Oh, you looked away. was it just squeamish or just that time of the day?
That time of the day.
You need to build up your
with my spaghetti in front of me that I really wanted to eat.
Yeah, well, too much like intestines.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happens when you have spaghetti for breakfast.
Yeah, that's right.
Sort your life out, Harry. God.
Sorry, I'm a mess.
So you have there's one scene which I thought was excellent, and I just learned literally like a few days ago. I learned about how this being a method that they used, but they had a lamb that had been born quite early on in the film who was rejected by its mother, or the mother's dead. I can't remember what the crack was exactly. So that lamb was by itself, and then later on in the film, a second lamb was born, but it was stillborn. And so what they did was cut the skin off the dead one and put it on the
makes it a little coat, doesn't it?
Give a coat so it had the set and put it on the runt on the isolated lamb.
Yeah.
So then it was accepted by the mother who'd just given birth to the dead sheep, and that scene then was just like, fuck, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like for a while, it was really gory and disgusting, and then as soon as they put it on the lamb, I was like, oh, it's got a little coat. That's really sweet.
Yeah, I was going to say, you describe it as they make it a little coat. It makes it sound a lot cuter than it actually is because you see a lamb getting skinned, like it's very
the
visceral.
legs are broken off.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a really good part of the story.
It's a real insight into a community that a lot of people don't see.
What were your thoughts, Helen?
I loved it. When it came onto Netflix, I was sort of like, oh my God, it's on there. I need to watch it now. So I watched it before you suggested it. And when you mentioned it as a choice, I was like, excellent. Because I agree with you. I haven't seen Call Me By Your Name. I haven't seen that yet. I would like to. But yeah, I just think this is a really beautiful film, and it feels very real. And I really like that it's kind of set away from the modern world as well. And that they're kind of isolated, looking after the sheep and everything, but the performances in it are great. It looks wonderful. It's a really great film.
I think Simon Renshaw, who's one of the Picture House podcast guys, he said this was his favourite. Did this come out this year?
This came out last year, I believe. Yeah.
He said, he was like, Kobe, this is my favourite film of the year so far. And so I was looking forward to watching it. I think it's a great film. One question we asked with Helen and I in the same quiz team, and one of our members, Gareth, was telling us about this, was talking about this film as well. And I was just trying to think about one of the notes I gave to you guys was what kind of romance films are there that aren't rom-com films?
Mm-hmm.
And I find I struggle to think of that apart from recently Call Me by Your Name and Moonlight,
Mm-hmm.
which are both gay romance films. I can't think of a straight one or the straight lesbian one. Maybe Blue is the Warmest Colour.
Yeah.
I can't think of a romantic film that I feel is like that I actually like.
Have you seen Richard Linklater's Before Sunrise, Before Sunset trilogy?
That's a good point. Actually.
They are
Love that
beautiful
shit.
films,
I
and
love
they
that.
are.
I love them.
Yeah. And Amour as well.
I haven't seen them all. I'm scared to.
It's brilliant. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's really lovely.
Mm-hmm. Is that horribly depressing French one? I mean, it is. Yeah, I was thinking about like romance as like the birth of a romance rather than the horrible tragic end of a romance. But yeah, I'm sure it is a romantic film.
Yeah,
sure.
and it's not a comedy.
It's not definitely
that's what I've
decidedly
heard,
not a comedy.
Michael Haneke one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so it seems like in films, any kind of romance most of it is with some common
Laugh a
element.
minute.
Yeah, you don't often see. I know what you mean. I think it is mostly in the realm of the LGBT films now because it feels like there isn't much of a story here. Like, so I think if this was a story about a lonely farmer falling in love with a woman, you might be like, well, why am I watching this? Like, it's you could do it really well because I think the Before Sunrise, like the first one in particular, is just a man and a woman falling in love in a strange city, and there isn't much plot to it, nothing much happens, but it is really beautiful and moving. So it can absolutely be done. But yeah, I think a lot of times when you're selling a romance film now, it is normally quite a fluffy comedy rather than a serious, like, piece like this.
I think, it's doing a disservice to just how people are.
To love, yeah.
Disservice to love.
Yeah.
Coming to cinemas soon.
Yeah. So when did you guys watch this first? Was it when it first came to Netflix, or did you guys see it in the cinema first time?
I saw it when it came, shortly after it came out. I actually missed it in the cinema, but I watched it when it came out on DVD, which was before it came to Netflix. I actually bought that on DVD because I wanted to support a local film. And then like a week later, it was on Netflix. Yeah. A week later, it was on Netflix for free. So I was like,
But you were
15 quid, I'll never see again.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I'm happy that the guy, he was a local guy, got my money, and to support a film that I really do want to kind of shout from the rooftops about because I found it really inspiring. And again, I don't want to repeat the same notes, but coming after Call Me by Your Name and having so many disappointments with that, it came at just the right time when that film was still fresh in my mind, and I was like, this is what these kind of films can be, and should be. So yeah.
I watched it for the first time last week, and like I said, it was really great. I was engaged from start to finish.
Going straight to the scoring system.
Yeah, wait till we get to the scores. I mean, I really like the fact that Johnny character in there, he's a bit of a dick. And you do actually see his journey for real, because it's not kind of like a shining light moment. He kind of grows and learns and everything. So I just think it's a really kind of honest and normal portrayal of any kind of relationship, really.
At what point do you think, I mean, this is part of the point I was making, that I seem to have a kind of a tin ear for romance generally. But at what point in this film do you feel that they had that first connection? Because it's the first time they're intimate with each other. John is coming out of the shed where they're sleeping during lambing season. He's very leery and is clear kind of what he wants.
Yeah.
But I didn't really kind of see the point that led up to that, which set up for Gheorghe that he was interested in Johnny as well. Was there just a subtlety thing kind of built up, or was there?
There were some bits, like there was the bit where at the same shed, I think that he calls him Drippo.
Yeah.
And so then, sorry, I'm forgetting all the names. So then the other guy runs over to him, pins him to the ground, and just like, don't call me that. But that
I know what you're doing.
I could really feel the heat there at that scene.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely something going on between these two, even if it is very sort of aggressive at this moment.
Yeah.
It's definitely building to something.
Because there's to the viewers, we have the picture wall, and to the right is that scene that you're talking about.
Yeah, that's the one.
And that's the only scene I thought that alluded to any kind of interaction beforehand, because it seemed, like Helen said, John is a bit aggressive. And he's a bit, not aggressive, he's a bit of a dick.
This is John the character, not me.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, just to point out. John sat to my right is very aggressive. And a bit of a but before that, he was calling him Jippo, calling me all the things that he didn't want to be called. And you get the idea that he's just a very angry kind of person, and he feels trapped. He can't hang. I think he's intelligent, and he probably would go to university with his friends if he was allowed to, if he was in a different situation, but he kind of feels trapped by the fact that he's on the farm, so he has to do his duty, and he has to do even more of the duty because his dad is very ill, and
Yeah.
also his mum isn't around, and he doesn't have any other brothers and sisters, so it's really all on his shoulders. So he's kind of fighting out against that kind of attitude.
Yeah, but to return to your point about where the kind of the romance starts, I think a lot of this film is so much about what isn't said and about kind of communication and how people and how none of the characters really struggle to communicate with each other, and how much is communicated in so little dialogue. Because again, to keep comparing it to Call Me by Your Name, which is a good film, I don't hate that film, but that film's like the opposite of this in some ways, because the characters spend all their time talking about how they feel, and it's all very high flowing and comes from a place of real intellectual and financial privilege. Whereas in this film, there's the language barrier, the fact that even though Gheorghe speaks English, obviously he's not the most fluent, and also John isn't particularly
Eloquent
either. So there's that between them, and there's the fact that John is obviously so not sexually repressed. I feel like one thing I appreciate is I never got the sense that he was ashamed or struggling with being gay. I think he was very much, this is who I am. Whether or not his dad and his grandma knew particularly, but in himself, he was very straightforward on who he was. But still, he just can't communicate things because he's very kind of repressed in a voice. He's emotionally repressed. He's in this very emotionally repressive environment. So he really struggles to articulate what he feels. And so often it only comes out in bursts of anger or in like anonymous sex or just like you say, like leering on someone, just like walking up to him while he's taking a piss and just looking him up and down. And that's his only way of communicating. So much of this film is said through looks, like meaningful glances and like the gentlest touches. So
it's right after he meets the guy in the toilet. It's not clear whether they've known each other beforehand. It seems like maybe there's something in the past that's happened. But the guy he has sex with comes out as John's getting into the car. He's like, "Mate, I had a really good time. Let's go for a drink." And John's just like, "No."
Good Yorkshire accent there.
No, I'm not. And then just shuts the door and drives off. And I thought that kind of set his character up.
Totally, yeah.
A minute before he's having sex with him, may not know, but it's, it's just rampant passion. And then the next minute it's like, I don't want this. Get out of the way. Yeah.
But it's not. Also, the relationship he has with his father is really, really interesting in this film.
Yeah, I find that to be really powerful. Like,
so did you guys think that his father and grandmother actually knew that he was gay or not?
I think his grandmother.
She does, because she works it out.
Yeah, she finds a condom.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that was the moment where she found out, and then that's when the emotions of everything that's going suddenly hit her.
Yeah.
And so it seemed like she wasn't okay with it, but then she didn't seem to bring it up massively.
Well, doesn't she help him to find him at the end?
She says to go and
she
get
does.
him.
So I guess she has a bit of an arc there, doesn't she? Because like the next interaction she has with him after finding a condom is to say, you know that he's here to work, right?
Yeah.
So as in to say, don't do that.
Yeah.
But then, I guess she comes around.
Yeah, I think it is.
We don't really see that.
But she comes round, I think, in the strong point because her son has just had another stroke, and she's seen the reason. She thinks the reason, or believes the reason, that he's had another stroke is because he's under so much pressure. And now Johnny's going through that, and she can't bear to see that happen again.
Yeah.
So it's definitely powerful.
Yeah, and I found that the last conversation he has with his father really, really moving. So the father has a second stroke midway through the film and is really like debilitated, like can barely speak and can't walk anymore. So, and then they have this, they have a very fractious relationship anyway, because the father really wants him to kind of commit to the farm and work hard, and he really resents the fact that it's all on his shoulders, and it means that he can't go away to Bradford, or wherever he wants to go.
Follow his dreams.
Yeah, he can't, exactly. And then, so not to spoil the plot of the film, but then we
can spoil.
We can spoil, cool. So Gheorghe and John have a fight at one point, and Gheorghe leaves. And then there's a scene with the father where John says to the father character, "I need to go and get him." And the father kind of says something like, "Makes you happy? Does he make you happy? It's done you good." He actually says it's done you good, and then he gives him his blessing. So you do get the sense that even though they're not having the full conversation, like he does know, and he's okay with it. Which I thought was refreshing to not have to have the big melodramatic coming out scene where he has to because that wouldn't be true to these kind of characters. They don't talk about their feelings that much. It's just it's acknowledged, and then they make peace with it, and then that's all it takes. Like,
I think because Johnny says in return to him, I need to do it my way. Yeah, I think just to further kind of iterate the point, but not making it too obvious as to what they're insinuating.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about the general kind of area that they're in? Because it seems like a place that I wouldn't say repressed, but if he was openly gay, he probably wouldn't be seen as someone that people want to hang around with. But also the fact that the Romanian guy's there, he's obviously treated with disrespect when they go to the pub as well.
Yeah, I thought that was quite interesting because there is a scene where they're at the pub when they're talking quite. I thought for a quiet pub they're talking quite openly about like living together and stuff. And I thought if anyone was listening to the conversation, they might. But nobody seems to like have an issue with that. And there is a scene early on where you see one of his friends who's gone to university who kind of obviously does know he's gay and kind of tries to set him up with this other guy who she knows. But then all of the bigotry in the film is really reserved for the Romanian for being Romanian. Like when the guy is flicking beer at him and he responds by does he grab his face or he slams his head down? Yeah. And then the woman turfs him out and calls him like you rotten little animal or something really horrible. And so a lot of it seems to come more from a place of xenophobia than from the homophobia. It doesn't really beat you over the head with it. It's more like unspoken in many ways.
I think there might still be an undercurrent of.
Oh, totally, yeah. And again, it's so interesting because living in Leeds, which is it's a very studenty city, and it's a very metropolitan place, and I've been fortunate to not really had to deal with a lot of homophobia in my life, etc. And also to be able to live my life, to not be tied down to looking after parents and farms, and these very like isolated, almost impoverished communities. They're so close to us, but we don't really see them. So I really appreciated that window into it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else? Sorry.
I was just going to say as well in terms of the area there, it was quite interesting to watch, almost distracting in places because this is filmed in Haworth and parts of it filmed in Ilkley as well and Otley, which are all places that I know very well because they're all really beautiful parts of Yorkshire. It was sometimes a bit distracting. I'd be watching like, them having pretty hot sex, on a hillside. Oh, this is pretty cool. Have I done that walk? I recognise that stone.
I mean, a lot of it really looks like, especially like some of the opening scenes, looked almost exactly like With Nail and I.
Yes, I think they've.
Have you ever seen that film?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. I can't believe. Right, so some old school decent films, but you don't know who Jennifer Lopez is. That's the.
Well, the thing is, we've done With Nail and I on the podcast. So
okay. Sure.
But Beyond the Box Set is half film podcast, half me enforcing a film education on Harry. So.
Yeah. You've been on episode 70. I've probably watched about 70 films in my life.
Okay, sure. Is there anything else to talk about before going to the scores?
I mean, one thing that I sort of did find quite funny, because they're obviously quite an isolated part where they are. There seemed to be rather a lot of gay people in that very, very small village.
Yeah.
I was like, that's quite surprising. There's that many gay people who are openly gay and in that very, very small area. But obviously that's just there to set the scene.
There's no way that he wouldn't have had a moment in a bathroom where he sort of gives that look of just like, and then somebody would just punch him.
Yeah, totally. Given it's established he's not using mobile phone apps, he's not like using Grindr and stuff. So yeah.
There's a lot of people watching other people pee in this.
Yeah.
Which...
It was almost quite old-fashioned, and I guess that's the point. Like, because before that's what would happen before, before the age of like apps and stuff. If people wanted to have anonymous sex and stuff, you would just have to like take a chance and like give someone a look in the toilets or at the urinal. And so that does happen, and it still happens. It's not something that doesn't happen. But yeah, I did think, given the very small cast of this film, that especially the early scene where he pulls that guy in the toilet, etc.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know the backstory there, how he met him, whether they know each other, but it is a bit like, oh wow, that's quite fortunate. Yeah. So, he's got a more active sex life than I do. Like.
The other thing that we're not really, there's loads of stuff going on in this film, but there's quite a few themes that go through it as well. Like there's a salt theme that sort of goes on, and I was
salt.
He adds salt.
Oh yeah, that's quite sweet when he adds all the salt to the pasta and like taste it. Yeah,
and the director is on about that it's adding salt to the meal, but it's also enriching his life as well. So as he goes on through the movie, he becomes more enriched, and there's also
flavour.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And about how Johnny's posture at the start, he's very kind of hidden and hunched over, and he grows more, so it's a symbolism of him growing. And also Gheorghe brings light into it, and in a way that he changes the light bulb to make the light softer, he kind of brings light into the into Johnny's life. So there's loads of all these really, really lovely layers and themes that are running through it as well.
It's beautifully shot. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, we can cut back to that scene with the dinner.
I knew you'd have thoughts on this. It is a lot of salt.
Well, yeah, it's a lot of salt, and also he eats a lot of food from his plate.
Yeah.
From his friend's plate, and he doesn't sort of pay him back with the food.
Yeah.
He's got less food in his
plate. I don't think that was romantic.
I
thought that was annoying.
Yeah.
First of all,
hey, you've got your own plate.
Yeah.
I mean, thanks for making it.
He was making sure it was the right amount of salt. So he was making sure he had the right amount of salt.
No, I know what he was doing, but then hand some pasta from your own plate just to sort of pay back.
Okay. Oh, I thought it
Oh,
was.
is that-
Not fair.
Okay.
No.
You're never a sharer.
Harry doesn't share
No.
food now.
These are my jelly babies.
We've got some more.
Yeah. Can I talk very quickly about the end before we go to...
Sure.
Just a very quick... There's one of my absolute favourite scenes of this film is... So they have this fight and Giorgio leaves and goes up to Scotland to work on another farm. And the Joshua Connor character, John, tracks him down with the help of his grandma and gets on a coach. And like, there's this beautiful, beautiful scene. And again, it's not too much. It's really nice and subtle. But they have this whole conversation where he says, again, he can't really be eloquent. He can't express himself. And I've never been more kind of touched by like a line than the way he just says, I've come to get you. I got on a coach and everything. I was like, oh, bless you.
Yeah, because coaches can be terrible. They can be the worst.
I mean, to be fair, yeah, I wouldn't want to get a coach. I'd have to really love someone to get a coach from like Leeds to Edinburgh or Glasgow or something.
Yeah.
That is, yeah.
Because I travel back to Manchester every other week and I can get the megabus for £1 or spend whatever I spend on the train. I just think I could save so much money, but it's the coach.
Yeah, same.
It's the coach.
Never get the coach.
No.
But it is a big thing because, in my experience, farmers they rarely travel. Like I've known farmers in mid Wales who have never left the valley that they were born in for their whole lives, and it's just phenomenal to me. I just don't get it.
No.
As I say, I did some teaching in Wales, and on one of the school trips, some of the kids had never been on a coach, and they went to Cardiff, and they were like, oh, they just couldn't handle it. There was just so much stuff and things for them to think about.
It's a completely different scene that we're all used to, especially you two living in London.
London?
Where all the crazy stuff happens.
Yeah, I know. London. I've been recently listening to all of my podcasts and all of my music using the Studio Regent headphone, which is a premium on-ear model Bluetooth headphone, which means there's no wires, people, which did scare me. I didn't want anything else to charge up. But the battery life is 24 hours, which is amazing. And you can get your own pair of the Studio Regent at studio.com. Think Phil Collins, Studio. Use the offer code Flixwatcher and you'll get 15% off any purchase. And you get free delivery worldwide. So if you are in Timbuktu, they'll fly it over to you. #poet. Right, let's go on to the scores. This is where it gets serious.
Flex your business with an American Express Business Gold Card. You'll earn 4 times membership rewards points on your top 2 eligible spending categories, like transit and electronics, each month, on up to $150K in combined purchases per year. Plus, you can now earn 3 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Terms and points cap apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold, built for business by American Express.
This unique scoring system.
Okay.
These are all out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel the need to have a decimal place, you can.
Or more.
And we start, as always, with the recommendability. So we'll start with you, John, because this is your choice.
Well, I mean, obviously I'm quite passionate about this film, so I would recommend it really highly. So I would maybe say, I really want to say a 5. I think anyone should watch. Yeah, I'm going to say a 5. My only reservation was this, because it is quite a slow-moving film, and it's not for everyone. Like, not everyone's going to love this film. Like, some people might just find it really boring or whatever. But as a window into a life that may not be your own, whether that's in terms of as farmers or as gay people or whatever, I think it's really an important film to watch. And
Yorkshire.
Yeah. Yorkshire, exactly, yeah, as a little Yorkshire tourist board, yeah. So yeah, I'd actually give it a 5. Yeah.
Harry.
For pretty much the same reasons that John said, I'm going to give it a 4.2. It's weird that you gave some reason why it's not recommendable, but then you still gave it full marks.
Yeah, I'm over. Yeah, I'm ignoring them. Yeah.
Ah, sure. I'm not ignoring them.
Okay.
Helen.
I'm also going to give this a 5 because I just think it's a really beautiful film and great performances, and I just think it's a really interesting portrayal of a relationship on film.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that it is on Netflix, and you should definitely watch it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say I think based mainly on Harry's description of eating it with spaghetti in the morning. Yeah, I'm going to go 4.5, 4.5.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic film. I can understand why it's people like Simon Renshaw was one. I always love hearing from him and seeing what kind of films he's like. vehemently disagree with a lot of the things he says, but he tends to have a point.
Sure.
So I can see why it's a lot of people's kind of favourite films they saw. But there are some scenes I think which wouldn't agree with the people and then would stop me recommending. But I don't think I've given a 5 recommendation to anything at all.
Have you not?
Maybe to...
I throw out 5s all the time.
I know you do. Reckless with your 5s. But I think we have a different kind of approach to the 5.
We do. I mean, I know there's people out here, people who will not enjoy this, but I don't really care.
They should watch it anyway. It should be like Clockwork Orange. You'd like
Just
pin their eyes
anyway,
and make them watch it. Yeah.
I mean, they can stop watching it.
Yeah. Repeat viewing score. John.
And
let us know if you want us to explain any of the scorings.
Sure. No, I mean, there's definitely certain scenes I'd watch multiple times, but as a whole, as an entire film, I watched it twice and enjoyed it even more the second time in many ways.
So when did you watch it the first time?
Shortly after it came out, and then the second time was to prepare for this. It was the other day. I'm going to give it a 3.5 because it's not, it is not very action driven. It's quite a small, meandering kind of film. So maybe it's not the kind of thing you're going to watch all the time. So, but yeah, it definitely holds up.
The second time. Yeah.
I'm actually going to give it a 2.5 because I don't see much that I'm going to get from this watching it a second time.
Well, I guess when you're watching the first time, you're fully into and engaged and stuff. But no, you said it. You did it in 2 sittings.
From looking away,
because as John was saying, there's a lot of it is in the looks that they give each other because neither of the main people are that eloquent. I don't think any of the cast are at least given that eloquent scripts. So a lot of it is in the scenery and the looks that people give you. And I think sometimes I find if I need to watch a film again, it's because I've been oblivious to some other things that are rather unspoken about.
I agree. I generally find that that's when you have no idea where the film's going to go.
Right.
Whereas this one I had a pretty good idea of where it was going to go, and I was correct.
Yeah.
And so, and so just I guess I picked up on the looks and the chemistry that's happening between them because I was expecting it.
Yeah. Cool. Helen.
So I saw this fairly recently, so I think I'd only just seen it when you gave the choices. So I didn't watch it again. That's not to say that I probably wouldn't watch it again, maybe in a year or so. So I guess in fairness, I'm going to do 2.5 and halfway down.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go for 2.5 as well. No reason why I wouldn't watch again. Probably wouldn't be on the top of my list of things to watch again. But yeah.
I didn't even clock how long it was, which is normally a kind of
it's nicely paced for such a like non-action heavy film. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just gonna. I really like the comparison. I really like the. Wait, was it before sunrise? Before sun? I can't remember when it was.
Is it before
the first one.
before midnight? Is it before or before? No, it's before sunrise, then before sunset, and then before midnight. Yeah, before
because I think that was maybe like 85 minutes long, but
in
terms of the fact that nothing happens in it, I don't see that nothing happening is a reason why a film should be long or short. But if you're just driven by what's going on in the conversations and the looks and the change in scenery and everything, I think that's fantastic. I think that's probably. That for me is probably the high watermark now. Actually, thinking of romantic films or films where people become entwined with each other.
Yeah.
And that's one thing. For me, I'm like I want to watch that again more often, but I don't really get that for this one.
Sure.
Yeah. I like that. Thanks for. I've been seriously racking my brain for something like that that's kind of hit me.
Oh, I'm glad I fixed that for you.
Yeah, cheers. Here to fix me. Right, small screen score.
So I actually didn't see this in the cinema, and I wish I had. Because I think it is because it is a small film. I think you can absolutely watch it on TV and get most of what you're going to get out of it. I don't think you necessarily need to see it on the big screen. That being said, I do feel like there's films like this, and I felt the same way about Moonlight actually. When you do see these films that are quite small and intimate, I feel like sometimes seeing them on the big screen can help you to really engage, because if you're in a cinema, obviously, unless you're a monster, you're not looking at your phone, you're not talking, you're not eating particularly.
By the way, unless you're
one of those monsters, yeah. But you really, I really appreciated Moonlight because I watched it in the cinema and I was completely focused on the film.
Yeah.
And I think if I watched Moonlight on a TV screen, I might not have connected with it in quite the same way. This I did see on the small screen, and I did really connect with it very strongly. So I can only give it a I guess, a 4.5. But I would say that if you can see it in the cinema, then do. You know, if it's showing at a festival or something.
Is it worth comparing directly Moonlight, Call Me By Your Name, and this as 3 recent independent films where it's a gay story? But I mean, this, I don't know, because Moonlight for me was like it was a story of love, but set in the scene of deprivation in the black community. Call Me By Your Name perhaps just didn't resonate with me because I didn't buy into any of the characters. I didn't buy into the characters that much, apart from Michael Stuhlbarg, who I think is phenomenal.
He was great. Yeah, that last scene.
And I thought Elio was great. I think all the characters are great, but it just didn't really connect with me in the same way.
Same.
But I think, like I said, I saw Moonlight in the cinema, was blown away by it, loved it. And I think you're right in this one. I think it seems to transcend that. And I think if I'd seen Moonlight on the small screen, I don't think I would have liked it as much as I like this.
Sure, yeah.
So that's an interesting.
Yeah.
I think
Moonlight,
just a little ramble for me. That
I know what you mean. I think Moonlight's more visual in many ways. I mean, apart from, this has amazing scenery, but it's quite it's shot like it could be a TV movie. Whereas Moonlight, even though it was made on a very low budget, the visuals are so important to that film. And I think it does lose something if you're just watching that in like a living room compared to like really drinking it. And it's very more quote unquote artistic. You know, this is quite a straightforward story, whereas Moonlight is
shot really well.
It's quite it's kind of almost an art house film. So I think those films definitely do benefit from a big screen experience. Yeah.
Small screen score for you, Harry?
4.
Any comments to that? Just
John's covered it.
Helen.
Yeah, pretty much the same. 4. I would have liked to have seen this at the cinema, and I kind of agree what he said about Moonlight as well. Had the same kind of feelings, but you know, it's make your TV bigger. On a big TV, if you're worrying about that, but yeah, definitely it works on the small screen.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There's no problem with it.
But the landscapes of Yorkshire probably look really nice on the big screen because it does really. It's a lovely showcase for the area.
How much do you think of it as if it's being like familiarity? Because I didn't drink in the landscape as much, maybe because I just thought, that could be. I know where that kind of place is in Manchester and Lancashire and stuff like that. Whereas Moonlight or Call Me By Your Name is. A lot of it is about the scenery. A lot of it is about the place where I wouldn't normally hang out or be. And
sure, yeah, I guess because I mean, Call Me By Your Name was just Italy porn. Like that was one of the things I did enjoy about it. It was just I really want to go to there. But whereas I guess for me, I'm quite an avid walker. I spend a lot of time in the countryside, so it was definitely familiarity. It was like, I've done that walk. I know that rock, that they're currently having sex on. But it was nice to see it in a because you don't see not a lot of films are shot where I am. Like even the pub, I'm pretty sure that pub was a pub in Otley that I've drunk in. So it was kind of novel. I was really always focused on the scenery because I was really looking out for. Do I recognize this? And most of the time I did. So maybe that's why I'm a little bit more engaged with the visuals than maybe the film merits.
Cool. Yeah, I think I'm going to give that 4.8. I'm not sure
4.8.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure what I would have taken away. To me, it reminded me of All Creatures Great and Small, which I loved on a very small screen when I was a kid growing up. So
this is a really good rating system, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You should steal this.
Yeah, maybe.
It is patent pending, so you have to pay us a lot of money.
Okay. No, maybe not then.
Engagement score, John.
5. I found it really engaging. For something that doesn't have a huge amount of plot. Like there was no point when I was checked out or bored. I thought every single character, and I really think that we haven't talked enough about how good the parents, the grandmother and the father are. They in smaller roles. They communicate so much with so little. And I thought actually I was really surprised when until the end credits came. I didn't realize that it was Gemma Jones. I spent the whole film thinking, oh wow, this actress I guess is just a local lady. What a find, she's fantastic. And then it's Gemma Jones, who's best known for playing Bridget Jones's mum in the Bridget Jones's Diary movies.
Okay.
Such a different character.
Wow.
I was like, my God, yeah. So
them actors.
Them actors, she was amazing. People. Yeah. So yeah, I was fully engaged. 5, yeah.
Harry.
I'm gonna give it a 4.8.
Spaghetti.
Yeah. Actually, yes, that's probably it.
There should be like a warning on the DVD cover: do not eat with spaghetti. Do not watch with spaghetti.
It's just spaghetti. Yeah.
Just spaghetti.
I'm going to give it a 5. I was completely engaged in it. So much engaged that I didn't even have to check how long the runtime was or anything.
You didn't check anyone else in the film?
Not until afterwards. No.
Yeah. I think, maybe 4.75.
Oh, wow. It's very specific.
Or random.
It's good. I think, like you say, because there's so much kind of unspoken, it's not as rich Linklatery with the dialogue.
Yeah.
You have to be looking at, because I think the first guy he meets in the auction house, I rewound it again to see, like, was there something that I missed in terms of, did they know each other before, or was it because all it was is he was eating his breakfast, which made me a bit hungry, and then the guy behind him who wasn't facing the same direction of him. It
was like he sensed a disturbance in the force.
Yeah.
There's a gay in the room.
It's like, there's someone.
Gaydar is tingling.
Checking me out. And then next thing you know, they're in the toilet together.
Yeah.
So I thought, have I missed something? And then after that, I just had the laser focus on. Bit odd. Yeah. Laser focus, Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom. You'll see it, Helen. You'll think, why? Okay, so that gives us an overall score of 4.15.
It's very strong.
Yeah, good score. Anything over 4 is fantastic. It's like a logarithmic scale. So it's harder to get in the higher.
But yeah,
have you put all these films on a graph yet?
Not on a graph, but they are on our website as a one big scoring thing, which you can sort by rating.
But you could turn this into a chart pretty quickly, could you, with Excel?
You could do, but I'm not going to do it.
Do it in Letterboxd or something, yeah.
Yeah, we could do.
Secret. I mean, also anything that everyone kind of gives 4 and above for recommendability is really strong as well.
I think what's quite interesting is because we are focused on Netflix, we have to obviously appreciate the fact that people tend to be watching on a smaller screen, and also that repeat viewing score tends to die from a few scores for films which would otherwise be strong, and typically like documentaries which are really good and really powerful. You don't tend to watch documentaries that often, so repeat viewing score kind of falls by the wayside in those. Longer films suffer with repeat viewing score. And also films where if you wish you'd seen on cinema kind of make it suffer. So there's a few things against it. So, but yeah, anything over 4 is a good strong score.
Good.
Cool.
Well done, proper.
Yeah,
I'm very
thanks
proud
for
of
the
myself.
choice.
Yeah. Feeling very smug right now.
Guys, let us know where we can find you online on Twitter, and let people they can find you.
Sure. So we are Beyond the Box Set. You can find us at beyondtheboxset.com, and our podcast is available on all good podcasting platforms, including iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Acast, Google Play, you name it, we're on it. And if we're not on it, we should be, so let us know. You can reach us on social media. We're on Facebook, just search Beyond the Box Set, or Twitter at Beyond the Box Set, and Instagram, again, just search Beyond the Box Set. And yeah, just come listen to us, give us a review if you like us, and enjoy the show. It's a very much a light-hearted look at, films and sequels. It's all mostly about focus on fun, and then, just having a little bit of a laugh about these films. So it's a good, easy breezy film podcast, I think.
And if you're a fan of Flixwatcher, which you probably are if you're this far into an episode, well, they're on one of our episodes now.
Or will be soon, depending on when this goes out. Yeah.
I guess.
I think we'll be out. Your episode will be out by the time this is released. So
great.
Episode, was it 70?
Episode 70, yeah. 3 Kings.
3 Kings. Helen and I talk about 3 Kings on Beyond the Box Set. So if you made it this far, switch over to Beyond the Box Set.
And listen to us again.
Listen to us again, because you love our voices.
You can't get enough,
Yeah. Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening. You can find all of the episodes on our website, flixwatcher.tv. Want to give us your 5-star review? Follow us at FlixWatcherPod on Twitter. Big shout out to our editor Brendan Russell for all his awesome editing skills, and thanks as always to the mighty people for their tunes.